Melchi. I am the founder of Melchi, the brand. And I have included in the chat a link to my website, which is just simply melchi.com, where you can find out all about what we do. We are a faith and community centered entity. And in addition to this talk show, we have an online magazine, and then we have a community focus where we spotlight community leaders like Karen and others who are making an impact and making a difference in the community. So again, welcome to you all. I'm so glad to have you join us today, and thank you for taking some of your Saturday morning to be with us. So without further ado, I want to welcome a very special person at last to New Day Live. We've been trying to get Karen on for a little while now, but she is no stranger to being, and I'm going to just run down the list a little bit here, a business owner, a community leader, like I just said, devoted mom and wife, and beautiful singer. If you've not heard her lead a powerful gospel song at our church, Orange Grove, you need to come by and visit us. Her in the Unity Choir. So, Karen, thank you so much for being with us today, and welcome. And we just appreciate your beautiful smile and just all that you do for us in the community, just your example, your light, your everything. And I'd like for our guests to introduce themselves, actually, in addition to what I just said. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes.
A little bit more about yourself, and then we'll get into the heart of the interview. So take it away.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for this space and having me here. Yes, it has been some time. We were wanting to try and get it done last year, but it didn't happen. That wasn't God's plan. It's for this year. And so I just thank you again for having me in this space. My name is Karen Bennett Sutton. I am the wife of the Willis Sutton, and we have three beautiful girls. Dinah, Robrisha, and Kendrika. We love them. We have three beautiful daughters. And just recently, in the past couple of months, I became a honey.
All right.
Yes, I did. That's a grandmother to the most beautiful granddaughter in the world so far. And so I'm excited about that as well. I am the owner of Consider It Done events, where we try to make your dreams come to life. And so I own a center there as well in Raleigh. I am also the founder of the Pink Faith Foundation nonprofit charity organization. And there we thrive to support low income men and women, a minority that is, survivors of and warriors of breast cancer. We help to educate them and support them in any kind of way that we can. And so with that being said, I am also a breast cancer survivor.
Amen. Praise the Lord. Yes. Yes. And this is a timely conversation here in October. I mean, beyond October. I mean, this is a 24/7 year-round celebration and conversation that we can have. But since it is October, it's pink. I've adopted the terminology pink faith from you, and I have on my little ribbon today. And but this being October, I am so glad that we are having this conversation in this month to particularly highlight your journey and to encourage other women to have mammograms and to seek out the care that they need. But more importantly, today's conversation is based on your journey, how you survived breast cancer. So we're going to get to that, but I want to continue here just by sort of following up on all the many things that you just mentioned. You're a business owner, you're a honey. I like that term.
My honey.
How do you seemingly effortlessly wear all of these hats?
Mm.
Do you have a certain secret formula? Like what do you do to get it all done? Your business, being a wife, being at choir practice every week, singing every Sunday. How do you get it all done?
Oh my God. Yes, behind the scenes, behind the scenes. I know I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, you make it seem so effortless."
Yeah,
But I can honestly say that it really is a challenge. It is a challenge. And I push through it daily, weekly, just constantly. But I have to always say that because of my faith in God, He's allowed me to be able to manage that. And so He gives me peace
yeah,
in in the areas when sometimes I feel overwhelmed.
right.
Um,
Oh, okay.
I lean upon Him, and then also I vent a lot to my husband. And so it's okay to have, that person, to have that village. It's okay to have those people, but be careful who you vent to. God will give you those people. I do have a huge support system as well, which is, of course, again, my husband and my children, they keep me grounded.
Yeah.
And I've learned through all of it just to go through, but at the same time, give myself grace.
Hmm.
Okay. So there will be a lot of times when, I know that I need to stay focused. Sometimes you can get off track, but when you do that, what's important is that you give yourself grace. And I've learned to do that through everything that I have impacted on my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I always ask that question because I'm always myself trying to learn how to balance, trying to learn how to use my gifts, but use them in a way that pleases God, not, being overwhelmed, not being stressed and that sort of thing. But just seeking his face in all. And like you said, it's always good to have someone to vent to.
Yes, it
Uh,
is.
yeah,
But I find peace in that. I start in the morning.
yeah,
First thing I am doing in the morning, I get up and there's a prayer.
yeah,
And I commune with God, and then He gives me the structure of my day. So again, it starts there, and throughout the day, there may be some hiccups, but then He just brings it right back in line. So
right. Excellent. I love that. Thank you. So we're gonna switch or shift gears and actually talk about your breast cancer journey. So my next question is, tell us about the day you received your breast cancer diagnosis.
mm,
What were your thoughts and reactions, and how did you get to the place of fully trusting God with your healing?
yeah. Uh, so I will never forget that day.
Yeah.
That
Mm.
day was and excuse me if I get emotional.
It is okay.
Dear and dear to me.
This
But
is yes.
that day, let me back up a bit because in reference to that day, I was headed to a retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And during that retreat, of course, it was a beautiful retreat. And this was during COVID. This was during COVID. And prior to that, I've always scheduled my mammograms in the month of October. So here I am on this day, um, getting ready for the actual retreat, which was much needed. And I thought as I'm sitting in the car, I was going to stop by and pick up, some toiletries and things of that nature. And so um, I thought I need to make my appointment.
Yeah.
I need to make my appointment for my mammogram. So if you all remember during COVID, it was hard trying to get appointments in.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was very hard. So I called, they told me they didn't have anything available until May.
Mm.
Keep that.
Hmm.
May of the following year, which would have been 2023.
Mm.
So I wasn't happy with that. So I called the doctor directly.
Yeah.
And so when I called the doctor, she did say, you can come in, and got me scheduled for like that following Monday. This
Hmm.
was after the retreat. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to have a great time and
Yeah.
going to the retreat, and went there and, talked about business. And
Right.
we, of course, we prayed and laughed. And that just kind of got my mind into the point of where it's like, oh, this is good. Never really thought about the mammogram again until Monday morning. So when I get back home on that Monday, I'm headed to my mammogram. But right before that, I realized I have a dental appointment that I didn't have on my calendar.
Yeah.
So I had to think, mammogram, dental appointment,
Yeah.
which one?
Hmm.
God said mammogram.
Yeah.
So I canceled the dental appointment, went to the mammogram. On that particular day when I walked in to have the mammogram, um, they we completed the mammogram. Then
Hmm.
one of the nurses came back to me and said, "Hey, so we're at a point where we would like to have you come back in. We think we saw something on your mammogram."
Hmm.
Me, I'm thinking, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Why? Because the following year for my in 2021, my mammogram, the same thing kind of happened.
Yeah.
And that was I had to go back. When I went back, they found that there was just some dense tissue
Yeah.
in my right breast. And so, maybe from drinking coffee, a lot of coffee, I don't know, love it. But when they ran, the additional tests, everything was fine. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking it's probably going to be the same thing. So she came back and she said, no, we want to have someone come out. If someone comes through this door and what she said, if she came back, then everything was fine. But if there was a little old lady that came through the door and said, hey, come on back, we'll need to do an ultrasound. So I sat there for like 30 minutes waiting, watching people come, go. And so sitting there, the little old lady comes through the door.
Mm.
Yeah. So when she came through, she said, yeah, you come on back and we're going to get this ultrasound done for you. And immediately
Yeah.
fear set in. Now, y'all know I am a woman of faith, but still, this is the reality.
Yes.
Fear set in. Why? Because the month prior to that, I had just lost my brother.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So that was important to me going back to these rooms. So we sat there, they did an ultrasound. I waited for about another 45 minutes for the doctors to come in and take a look. And so one of the doctors, who's a really nice lady, she said to me, this is now I'm going back to the actual room. She said to me, well, we saw something. We
Yeah.
want to go ahead and try and see if we can schedule a biopsy.
Mm.
The biopsy, now, really, seeing all and hearing all these words, I didn't know anything about breast cancer. Nothing. I
Hmm.
know more now than I did then, but all I could think of was my friends,
Yeah.
people that I know that went through this. And I immediately started thinking, okay, God, what are we going to do here? So she said to me, well, we need to schedule a biopsy, but
Mm.
we don't have them for another 2 weeks. And I thought, that's too far out. I don't want to wait for anything. And so I looked at the doctor and I said to her, if you don't mind, and I'm in healthcare
Yeah.
at the time, and if you don't mind, I know that a lot of times you all don't like to say things. Is it possible that you could just tell me between you and me
Yeah.
what you really think
Right.
this is?
Hmm.
If you really think that it's breast cancer, and she looked me in my face and said, yes, I think it is. And it
Mm.
just,
Have mercy.
yeah. And so I told her, I said, well, if that's the case, then I need to know two things because this was now on a Wednesday. She said, hang on a second, let me walk out of here. I need this biopsy. So she walked out, she came back. She said, this is Wednesday. We can do your biopsy on Friday. That's 2 days away.
Mm.
God. Okay. So I already understood at that point that I was having
Yeah. Yes.
favor set in.
Exactly.
So, right. So what she did was we came back, we did the biopsy on that Friday. In my mind, I'm thinking, maybe she got it wrong,
Yeah.
right? So on Friday, I had the biopsy, came back and waited a few more days, and then I got a call. I'm at work. I
Mm,
went to the post office and I'm looking at my phone and the phone call that I got, I recognized the number and
mm,
I immediately stopped. I pulled over on the side of the road
yeah.
and that's where I got the diagnosis
Mm,
for uh the the cancer.
okay.
Um
Mm,
yeah. So I drove back to work. I I called my husband. I drove back to work and I sat out in the parking lot. Mind you, I was on a lunch break. I sat out in that parking lot for like 2 hours
mm,
until my coworkers, decided to come out and they thought something was wrong. Well, it was.
yeah.
And so the coworker that did come out, it was she sits on my board. Now
Yeah.
it was one of the doctors. She came out and she consoled and she said, "Look, I just want you to go on home. I'll tell them what's going on in here." So I did. So when I got home, I was able to talk to my husband. And when I told him that, he just kind of sat up in the bed and dropped his head in his hands and
Yeah.
he started to weep.
Mm,
And we're both weeping. And then finally he said, "Well, hold up, wait a minute. We both can't be sitting here crying, and you being, the woman that you are, your faith is in God. I know it's strong. And so we're going to get through this."
yeah.
And I said, "Wait a minute. Yes, we are. We're going to get through it." So I immediately, thought, well, I need to tell my family.
Yeah.
I told my family, and that was like a month had passed. I'd gone through um, a lot of the preparation up to like the surgeries, the part where you would have to get your finances and things like that, the appointments. I start scheduling those. I still had decided at that point, well, I won't tell nobody this. Why? Because I felt ashamed.
Mm,
I was fearful.
mm,
My faith was strong. I still had fear there. And I just didn't think that it was anything that I wanted to share with
mm,
anybody.
mhm.
But God said, "No, that's not what I want you to do."
Right.
I was diagnosed with stage 2 invasive ductal carcinoma.
Okay.
We call it IDC.
Okay.
As a pink sister, that's what we call it, IDC. And so on November, I don't remember the date, but it was November, still in my mind thinking, I'm not going to tell anybody. And I
Mm,
went to church. I told my pastor, of course, and our first lady, I told her.
mhm.
A lot of people in the church, nobody knew. They just saw me and they thought, okay, something's wrong, but they
Yeah.
didn't know. Didn't tell anybody anything
Mm,
until we had one of our guest speakers who's really a part of our church. She came in and she gave her testimony through her sermon. And what she mentioned was that, if you remember,
yes, I do.
right, what she mentioned was that she had gone through the exact same thing that I had gone through. And what she said was, I said, I won't go tell nobody. That
Yes,
was the subject.
that it
That
sure
was
was.
the subject.
I
The
remember.
subject was, I said, I won't go tell nobody. And when she started telling her testimony, I sat over on the side and I said, wow, I said, I won't go tell nobody either. That was it. I said, I won't go tell nobody.
Yeah.
Come to find out, she went through the exact same thing. When I tell you, I felt like this was a twin to me. On that Monday, I came back to it. She got the news in her dental office. I
Yeah.
canceled my dental appointment.
Mm,
And I knew, I said at that point that, okay, God, there's a connection here somehow. So at the end of the service, she knew that she was talking to someone. And it's usually at the end of our services when we have a speaker or a minister to come through, people, our guests line up and they want a hug. And she said, "No, I can't. I have a purpose." And that was me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
walked up to her, I hugged her, and we've been the best of friends since then. And God said to me then, "You have to tell everybody.
Wow.
You have to tell everybody." And so I still remember in November, I decided that, yeah, I do. I took to Facebook or social media, and that's where my journey began as far as telling the world about what I was going through.
Right.
I must tell you that when I went through that or I gave my testimony, then I had such a peace.
Yeah.
It was a peace because I was able to get it out. And
Mhm.
so from there is when it took off. I had my surgery in December, first week in December, and I've not looked back. Uh, I went through um, 16 rounds of
Mhm.
radiation. I
Mhm.
had several appointments. I had so many appointments until I was just tired.
Yeah.
It took all of my energy.
Mhm.
And I can say that through it all, God was with me. He gave me all of the resources. He gave me all of the family. He gave me a village that wouldn't even allow me to drive to any appointment.
Yeah.
When I tell you that I had a village of just women, family, uh, I don't know, 7, 8 people that carried me. They got together, they made a schedule
Yeah.
with all of my appointments, and I only thing I needed to do was walk out the door. And I just thank God for that. I thank God for that.
Yeah.
So um,
Mm.
I don't know if you want me to go further towards where we got to my last my
You
last
you can,
day.
as far as you would like. I do want to back up
Yeah,
and ask you a question, and was not in the list that I sent you, but you mentioned that when you were struggling with whether to share your testimony, that one of the emotions you felt, that you felt ashamed. And I wasn't expecting to hear that, and I don't think
yeah.
I've heard that in this type of testimony sharing. May I ask, why did you feel ashamed? What made you feel that way? And I heard
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
the thing.
yeah. Because for me it was I felt like not me. Why me?
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
me? And also because that word, that
yeah.
C word,
Hmm.
is almost like it's a disease.
Yeah,
And so you think about a lot of different things like, God, why did I get this? And how did I get this?
right.
You start thinking a lot of different things, you
Hmm.
know? And I felt that way, but after talking to like a lot of other now pink sisters, they
Yeah.
felt the same way.
Mm.
They
Mm.
felt the same way, but a lot of people um, in any situation when it comes to um, cancer or anything that they've had contracted or whatever, they feel that way,
Yeah. Hmm.
could
Hmm.
feel that way. So there was a lot of emotions. I saw my life like just pass in front of me. What if?
Right. Yeah.
There was a lot of things and emotions that went through
Yeah.
um my mind. So yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I've just been, as you've been sharing, just kind of entered into your story with you and just kind of followed along. And of course,
yeah,
yeah, I do remember the sermon. Dr.
okay,
Roberts is who we're speaking of. She is
yes,
at our church and is a practically, well, our pastor, if you speak one time, you're already part of the family. So
You're part of the family. That's right.
she's a part of the family. But I do remember that very clearly. And I do remember then you sharing your story.
Yes.
So fast forward, you have gone through your treatments. You've had this wonderful support system with your actual family, your church family, and
Uh-huh.
comes where you get to ring the bell. So tell us about that day.
Praise God.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness. Or that day, it was glory on that day. I must say, if I can say that at the beginning of my journey,
yeah,
in my mind, I was already at the end. I
yeah,
was already living victory
yeah,
at the end.
yeah.
Uh, during that journey, and I'll tell you, right before ringing the bell, I've had so many women after that testimony that I decided to give to reach out to me. These would be women that have gone through, but they've never said anything to anybody,
Hmm.
that have had families that have gone through it by themselves. And so all of that played, in my mind as I'm, going through my journey. So
Hmm.
on that particular day, which was February the 24th of just last year, 2023.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, I remember going in, my husband was with me, wore his pink
yeah.
shirt, and I'm looking, oh, pink shirt. So we got in, and I went through my last uh, round of radiation on that day. And so I walked out and I rang the bell, and
Hmm.
immediately, God said to me that this journey is not only just for you,
Mm,
it's not for you. This is a way that we're going to be able to get out and reach other women. This
yeah,
is for somebody else.
right.
And I held on to that. Still remember getting in the car, said to my husband, we're going to celebrate. Not
Yeah,
only are we going to celebrate, because we were leaving, going now to a restaurant what a family had put together, and they were just there
yeah,
celebrating me ringing the bell. But God said, this is not a celebration. It's just about you. We need to celebrate plenty of other women that
hmm,
have gone through, plenty of other families that have gone through, plenty of other victims of this uh, illness
yeah,
that have gone through. We need to honor those that didn't make it. We
right,
need to do all of that.
right, right.
And so I immediately started planning for my first gala, which was in October of last year. When I tell you,
Yeah.
yeah.
I,
And so, yeah,
I love, so fast forward from there to the founding of the Pink Faith Foundation. And
yeah,
I love that sort of hashtag Pink Faith. I started putting it in everything that I post about
yeah.
breast
You
cancer.
gave me the name. Yep, gave me the name. And
Yeah,
that's because through all of this,
yeah,
my faith, I've survived
yeah,
and thrived just on my faith alone.
right.
And with that, everything else came. And he said to me that if you just allow me
Yeah,
to just take over your entire life,
yeah.
even down to me, I never returned back to work.
Mm, yeah,
I never returned back to work. And still, even in that, God said, okay, I need you to execute your faith.
yeah. Mm,
And I did that. And so here I am today.
yeah, yeah. So back up, you started to talk about, you were saying that you have women come up to you all the time and they are, seeking encouragement. So how do you encourage, what do you say to them? How do you just allow again God to use you? through your journey and your testimony to help and bless other women going through the same thing.
Yeah. So, again, I've had conversations with them. I've had them to call me. I have women that call me anytime,
Yeah.
anytime. So I've been able to encourage them.
Mm.
I always pray with them.
Yeah.
I've even gone with them to some of their appointments.
Awesome.
I've done almost everything except for maybe hold their hand while they're getting that mammogram. So that's important for me is to find a way that they can get the mammogram. The thing is that a lot of women, believe it or not, um, have called me and I found out that they haven't gotten their mammograms. Why? For several reasons. They're afraid.
Yeah.
That's the number one. Um, they don't have the money to get it
Yeah.
or the means, the insurance. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I get it, but this is why I formed this to try and help
Right.
through the foundation. And then I've had women to even say to me that having a mammogram, it hurts.
Yeah.
And my response is breast cancer hurts worse.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So with that, yes, I've been able to share, of course, my testimony with them,
Mm-hmm.
but just trying to encourage them
Mm-hmm.
to the point of where I can say to them that in First Peter 5:7, to cast, this is what he said, to cast your cares on him. And that basically means throw,
Yes.
throw all of your cares on him and allow him to work. Don't
Yes.
try to get in the middle of it. Don't
Right.
try to fix it because
Yeah.
God doesn't need, he didn't need any help.
Doesn't.
So if you cast all of your cares on him and allow him to just move, then you can just sit back and ride in peace.
Yeah.
So that's the conversations that I have with women that have gone through and are going through. I'm still getting the calls.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So tell us about the Pink Faith Foundation Gala. You have one coming up this year, next weekend. So tell us about sort of the setup of it, who guest speakers are, how you celebrate other women there. Just tell us about the whole kind of scope of that event, which I'm looking forward to going to.
it is a sea of pink.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So I must say that off the top, we are celebrating.
Hmm.
Although there may be some emotions in the room,
Yeah.
we are there to celebrate. We're there to celebrate survivors. We're there to celebrate warriors.
Yeah.
We're there to celebrate families.
Hmm.
We are there to celebrate anyone that has had a part or taken a part in the um, the journey
Yeah.
that their loved one has gone through or may.
Right.
So with that, we're going to have a keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker is Nikki Fryer. She is the beautiful CEO of and Vice President of Nursing throughout the VA medical centers in North Carolina and also Virginia, I believe. And then we're going to have my daughter, who is a beautiful person,
Yeah.
Kendrika Rainey.
Yes.
She is, now the thing with her, she's a paramedical tattoo artist. So let me tell you about what she does. And I think that it's beneficial to every woman that has ever had a mastectomy
Hmm.
or, yeah, a
Yeah.
mastectomy. So what happens with her is, and God, y'all, what happens with her is if anyone knows about a mastectomy, what they do is they rid you of the nipple, the
Hmm.
areola area. And what she does is she creates a 3D vision of the actual nipple. So if you're right, so it looks like the nipple is there,
Uh-huh.
but it actually isn't. So that comes through tattooing that. I just thought it was beautiful. I had never heard of anything like it before, but
Mm.
she is amazing. Um, at that. So she'll be there. She'll have a lot of her she'll have a informative session about that as well.
Mm-hmm,
So I
mm-hmm.
just had to get that out there. We will have a awesome fashion show. It's a lot of things in there that are kind of a surprise. I won't say too much, but we're going to have a fashion show and it will be all pink. But mainly, our main purpose for being there is because we will honor, again, we will celebrate um, our survivors. We will have a panel discussion there as well, but we are there to celebrate and honor and recognize our breast cancer survivors and our warriors. And we're going to have some dinner, a good dinner. We'll have a violinist. Yeah. Y'all just come on through. Tickets are still available. Have a few left, not many.
Okay, that was my next question.
Yeah.
Can you still purchase tickets?
Yeah, you can still purchase tickets, but I'm telling you, they're flying. They're flying off the shelf. So you might want to get your ticket. You can. Can I give us the website? Give the website.
I'm
Okay.
already in the chat, so I just
Okay.
placed, I think I just placed Pink Faith Foundation. Is that the right one? And they
Yeah,
can
you go to www.pinkfaithfoundation.com.